So, governments everywhere are in this mad dash to deploy AI. They're hoping to make public services faster, cheaper, more efficient. But here's the thing. What if they're focusing on the wrong problem entirely? In this explainer, we're going to dig into why for public sector AI, the most advanced algorithm in the world just doesn't matter if you're missing the single most important ingredient, trust.
Okay, let's just jump right in with the one number that honestly explains everything. 47%. According to a massive OECD survey, that is the trust gap between citizens who feel their government actually listens to them and those who don't. 69% of people who feel heard trust their government, but for those who feel ignored, it plummets to just 22%. And that 47-point gap, it isn't just a statistic, it's the single biggest design challenge for every single government AI system being built today.
And this leads us straight into what you could call the government AI paradox. I mean, on one hand, adoption is just skyrocketing. You've got over 70% of public servants using AI in some way. But on the other hand, a tiny 18% believe their governments are using it effectively. There's this huge disconnect between just buying the tech and creating something that people actually value and trust. So what is really going on here?
To really get that disconnect, we have to understand why AI in government is a completely different ballgame. The stakes, the ways it can fail, and the rules for success, they're just fundamentally unique.
Now check this out, because this slide really frames the consequences perfectly. In the private sector, right, if an AI makes a mistake, let's say it gives you a bad movie recommendation, what's the worst that happens? A customer leaves, maybe some minor brand damage, but in the public sector, an AI failure could mean a citizen's fundamental rights get violated. A biased algorithm isn't just bad for business, it could literally be a constitutional crisis. The scale of potential harm is it's in a different universe.
And let's be clear, we're not talking about some far-off hypothetical risk. The evidence is already piling up. We have already seen AI giving different psychiatric advice depending on a patient's race. We've seen healthcare summaries that use softer, less urgent language for female patients. There are faulty AI crime alerts and hiring tools that have already processed over 30 million applications, sparking major discrimination complaints. This isn't theoretical. It is happening right now.
And this quote just brilliantly nails the core idea. The ultimate test for a government AI isn't just whether it's accurate, it's whether it's legitimate, whether you and I accept its decisions as fair, as just, and as accountable. I mean, you could achieve 99% accuracy, but if you destroy public trust in the process, you have failed completely. So how in the world do you design for legitimacy? Well, it really comes down to three key principles. First, contestability. Can a citizen easily challenge a decision that was made by the machine? Is there a real path for appeal? Second, traceability. Can we pop the hood and actually understand why the AI made a certain decision? And finally, proportionality. Are we matching the level of automation to the stakes? We shouldn't be using full automation for life-altering decisions without a human in the loop where it really counts. Okay, so if those are the principles, how should government agencies actually put them into practice? Let's move on and see how this builds into a practical roadmap.
It looks like four main models are emerging. First up, you've got the administrative copilot. This is pretty low risk. The AI just assists a human who always makes the final call. Then you level up to rules plus ML triage, where AI sorts or prioritizes cases for a human to review. Then, moving up the risk ladder, you get bounded autonomous, where the AI makes decisions on its own, but only within really strict predefined guardrails. And kind of alongside all of this, you have policy intelligence, which uses AI to forecast trends for big picture stuff, like budgets or climate planning.
Now, here is the absolutely crucial point. You can't just jump to the high-risk models. It doesn't work that way. The path has to be sequential. You start with the copilots to build capacity and trust, then you move to triage, and only then, way down the line, do you even consider autonomous systems. If you skip those steps and just drop a complex system on the public before you've built the underlying trust infrastructure, you are setting yourself up for the exact kinds of failures we just talked about. This quote just hits the nail on the head. The reason that nearly 80% of agencies are using AI, but less than 10% are truly automating at scale, it has absolutely nothing to do with how good their AI models are. It's because they haven't built the systems for appeals, for audits, for transparency. It's a trust deficit, not a tech deficit.
And for anyone out there who thinks building all this trust infrastructure is kind of optional, well, think again. The clock is ticking, which brings us to the deadlines that are about to make accountability mandatory.
Just look at this timeline. In 2026, a whole wave of regulation hits. In February, the Colorado AI Act takes effect, specifically targeting algorithmic discrimination. In March, there's a huge U.S. federal deadline from the Office of Management and Budget, that's the OMB, requiring new safeguards for government AI. And then in August, the EU's landmark AI Act imposes really strict rules on any high-risk systems.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple. You've got different jurisdictions, state, federal, international, all sending the exact same message. The era of just deploying public sector AI without a clear, robust, and explicit system for accountability is over. It's done. This new reality of mandatory accountability forces a really critical question. If we have to be accountable, what exactly should we be measuring? And the answer requires a fundamental shift in how we think about success. Right now, we mostly track technical metrics, right? Things like model accuracy, server uptime, cost per transaction. These things measure the system's performance, which is fine, but they tell us absolutely nothing about public value. What we're missing are the metrics that actually build trust. Things like, do people feel the process is fair? What's the rate of appeals? And how often are AI decisions overturned by a human? Are errors hitting one demographic group harder than another? And the big one, is citizen trust actually going up or down after we deploy this thing? And this says it all, really. If you're a government agency and your big, fancy AI dashboard is full of data on API response times, but has nothing about appeal rates or demographic fairness, you are measuring the machine, not its legitimacy in the eyes of the people it's supposed to serve. You are missing the entire point.
So let's bring all of this together. What's the final takeaway from this deep dive into AI in the public sector?
It really comes down to this simple statement. The AI models, they're powerful enough. The computing power is there, the technology is ready to go. What's lagging way behind is the institutional plumbing. The laws, the metrics, the appeal processes, and the accountability frameworks that are needed to actually support it.
And this is why trust can't be an afterthought. It's not a soft or optional metric. It is the single binding constraint. Without it, you could be building the most technically perfect, efficient system in the world, but you're just optimizing the system that the public will ultimately reject as illegitimate, and no software update is ever going to fix that. Which leaves us with one final crucial question. If it's not the fancy algorithm itself, what is it that actually builds the trust we've been talking so much about?
And here's the answer. Trust isn't some abstract concept. It's concrete. It's the assurance that when the machine, inevitably, makes a mistake, there is a simple, effective, and human-centered way to fix it. It's the appeal path that works for a real person on a real Tuesday afternoon. That is what legitimacy looks like.